Two other schools said we each want to send 40 kids. I'm just making this up. 40 kids to your high school. Are we considered then a regional academy? Because there's different kinds of incentives then in relation to that. So you can see reorganization. We are currently in that whole grade sharing column. And we also are involved in the operational function sharing column. That just describes what it amounts to, how you get it, how you calculate it. If you turn to the back of that page, which would be page 4, and it says operational function sharing. So that would be currently transportation director, part-time business manager, and superintendent sharing. And I marked on there where we are at in that schedule. So we started on the far left column where it says sharing agreement contract signed on or before October 1st, and then it walks down that first beginning FY08 column. And I drew the line where we currently are. And you can read it some other time what those guidelines are. And they look timeline-wise much the same as whole grade sharing, because our reports and our reports are all tied into one, whether they're whole grade sharing or whether they're operational function sharing. The next 3 pages, there's a front and back of the sheet, it'd be 5, 6, and 7. It's just a history. It's on the Department of Ed website, and it's a history of the school districts since 65, 66, their consolidations, and then what that new school district name is. And you can take a look at those. It was there, so I printed it. And the most recent was July 1st of 08 on this form. Newmarket dissolved, and Russell was involuntarily merged, if you remember. Grettinger and Terrell passed reorganization about a month and a half ago. They've been whole grade sharing, so they will not, their reorganization doesn't go in effect July 1st of 2010. So it won't be this coming July 1st, but it'll be the year after that. And then the last sets of sheets, which are 8, 9, 10, 11, and 10 and 11, I guess. This is just more detail about the description of financial incentives, because lots of times you've asked me questions, and as I've answered those, my thought was maybe it'd be helpful for you to see what it looks like on a piece of paper. When we enter the data, it's in a system that we enter the numbers of kids and it calculates for us. We just have to give our local district info. And so the calculations for weighting come by the tool that the DE has at their website.
Okay, I've got a question with the shared monies. We are in the second year of sharing you, or the third. Where are we at with you?
Second.
Second. But we're like in the first year with Bill and John?
Yep.
So are we on 2 different timelines, or everybody's on the second year? So if we would share somebody else next year, and even though that would be their first year, they would go in as a third year.
They'd go as a 0.6 of whatever that weighting was.
Right, but yeah, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Not the 5-year.
But
yeah, it's 100%, and then diminishes by 20% each of those years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even expecting you'd have questions for us. Just
Must be digested.
put it on a website table and take a look at it.
Barb, do you know in the state of Iowa how many schools of whole grade shared for a number of years and have no interest or reorganizing? Very many.
I can't.
Probably not. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know exactly. I know that at the Department of Ed, the 2 people that I talk to the most often, one of them has made a comment that there's a school that's whole grade shared for 20 years and absolutely has never had any conversation about consolidation or reorganization, and the department's comment is that we sure as heck can't figure out why, because we have, even at the department level, there are 2 separate districts, student data, financial data, all of that sort of thing. But they could probably give me some information about that, but I don't know that.
I was just curious. I assume most of whole grade share end up reorganizing.
Grettinger Terrell had their reorganization built into their whole grade sharing, that after X year of whole grade sharing, they would proceed with X unless there were petitions not to do that, and it never was petitions not to reorganize. So their whole grade sharing agreement had a timeline for reorganization built into it. Kind of, yeah, so they absolutely are sticking to that. Their fifth year of sharing will be the year that they actually start as a consolidated or reorganized district.
I got a question. What is the board's role as far as, well, if you go back to the first page, reorganization? You know, when we started talking about whole grade sharing, it was just a board vote between two boards.
Yeah.
Reorganization is petition filed, qualified electors, and all that other good stuff. What, if we as a board or two boards decide to back this or want this or whatever, what is our role? I mean, since it's a public vote, public petition, where do we go with that?
The board's role in reorganization is different than it is in whole grade sharing, and it's almost as if you give and it's committee driven, so it's sort of like the Joint Citizens Advisory Committee, or you can establish a brand new committee like that, and that committee is charged with investigating whether this is, you know, it's informing the public, it's deciding within that community, if they want to come to the board to say, we're going to look for the petitions and go through and push you to go through that process. It's community, it's people driven, it's taxpayer driven versus the board's role. It's just a little different. The board sits and receives information from that committee. I talked to the fella at Grettinger Terrell because theirs is the newest, and even though it was built in their whole grade sharing agreement, their board notified their Citizens Advisory Committee and said, we'd like you to start the processes of understanding this and bringing us information and questions and informing the public. When the department, or when the AEA director was here, do you remember she said something about a needs assessment? When I have talked to 3 people at the Department of Ed and not any schools that have reorganized recently, did they ever do a needs assessment for reorganization? They had done one in whole grade sharing, and so that's a little bit confusing. And when I've shared with the 3 people at the DE who are in the sharing division, they're like, where did your AEA director get that? And I said, I'll send you the slides, because obviously she got it from some sort of information from the Department of Ed. And this Joyce Thompson is the person that is assigned to our district, and she just said, you're sharing. Why would you, what sort of needs assessment would you do? But she said, I suppose that's what your Citizen Advisory could ask for, but don't you know about each other's finances and the size of the district and the number of students and free and reduced, and yep, we have joint policies and we have common handbooks. And she's like, I think you're past that piece right now. You're now on to the what would be the changes that taxpayers would notice or the board would notice. How do you formulate boards? How do you decide on timelines? And the reorganization manual is substantial. One of the things I told the board presidents that I feel like I need to do is take pieces of it and not keep you away from the info, because I can give you anyone who wants a copy can have one. But try to get you the important pieces. There are 7 chapters to it about different, like Chapter 4 is boundary changes, Chapter 5 is finances, Chapter 8 is school board, the new school board, and give you the pertinent information so you get some sort of drift about where are we or where are we not with this. Now at Grettinger Terrell, they had no similar board policies. They did not have a similar handbook between their buildings and grade levels. I mean, we have more pieces of a lot of things put together than they did at that point. ICAM Manning has not started to work on joint policies, nor have they adopted common handbooks. So if you're a high school student at Manning, you're under the Manning handbook, and if you're a middle school student that's from Manning but you're at IKM for middle school, you have an IKM handbook, and the two might not jive. Actually, they don't. Good conduct policy, if you're a middle schooler, you go under the good conduct policy of IKM, and if you're a high schooler, you go under the good conduct policy of Manning. And that was one of the things these boards have said, no, that's not going to happen.